Libera tutemex ex infernis.
Liberate tutte ex inferis.
Save yourself from hell, Josh.
I didn't take Latin in high school. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I just translated for you.
What's the Spanish translation?
I have to think about that one.
Welcome to Crosscut.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm co-host Chris.
And I'm your co-host, Josh.
For this week, I picked Event Horizon because I was jumping off the 90s trend that we're pretty much doing now. So I'm like, I literally typed in 90s movies, popular 90s movies, and I came up with three of them, and only one of them we could actually watch. So Event Horizon.
I thought this was honestly, even though you presented me with those other options, which
Mhm.
honestly I don't even remember what the other ones were, I still was like, ooh, Event Horizon. I think that's the one I would have picked no matter what. Even if we could watch the other ones easily, like streaming, I
You
still
still would
think
have
I would have
picked.
been like, yeah, I think it would have been like Event Horizons, my go-to. I thought that was a solid one. So
Yeah, I remember the first time I watched this. It was my brother burned it on the DVD and like you have to watch it in the dark. Like, all right, fine. I'll watch it in the dark. And it kind of fucks with your mind a bit. And
how old are you? Just curious.
I was probably like 12 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
it's a good movie to watch when you're 12.
yeah, it
I
was
wasn't one of those people, but I can see this being a good 12-year-old watching this movie. Even
oh
when I
yeah.
was watching it, I was like, man, this movie's definitely got some great creepy atmosphere, but like watching this if I was a kid, I would definitely been like on edge for sure.
Yeah, in everything. And I love this movie. I love the characters, the actors who portray them. They do a solid job. It's a good sci-fi horror psychological thriller that it's worth a watch. I mean, it's not really known that much, I don't think, because
Actually, I'll disagree with you. This movie's become a big cult movie. It's actually gained a huge following.
following.
I was actually watching a ton of YouTube videos after I
Oh,
watched the movie before we got on here, and there's like ending explain videos, there's like deep analysis videos, some
okay.
like big YouTubers, small YouTube. Like this movie's actually
Well,
has a very
I guess
interesting production story that
yeah.
maybe we'll get into at some point. But
I know that uh every time I mention it to someone, they have no idea what I'm talking about. They've never heard of it.
Huh?
I was like,
hmm.
okay, yeah, so Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill, like not ringing a bell to anyone. It's like, damn, you gotta watch it. And starting from the beginning of the movie, there's something going on, but you don't know what's
Well,
going on.
just speaking of the beginning of the movie, how this movie transitions from the Paramount logo into
Oh, and
space.
the space.
It was really cool. I was like, okay, that's
It's
fun.
just like you
That's
see it
fun
all the
stuff that
time in
they
Indiana Jones.
I guess you can only do it with Paramount movies. Apparently, you can't do it with it. Although I think universe. Actually, if this was a Universal movie, this would have made more sense because they have the it's of Earth, right?
Right.
They
And
could
you
have
just
easily
like,
done
just,
a panning shot to
uh-huh,
like the spaceship or
uh-huh.
something. But I thought it was cool. I thought it was like a cool little transition. So
But I like
yeah. Anyways, we go from that to space. So yeah.
in space, you see the whole message of uh the space exploration of the event
Which, by the
horizon.
way, we're screwing up, man. 2015, we already got people on Mars or
I
on the
saw
moon,
that.
and
I
we're not
saw
even.
that.
And that's almost 10 years after that, and we're not even close. So, yeah, we're falling behind, man. Event
Yeah,
Horizon clearly had
yeah.
way bigger expectations for the future
Mm-hmm.
than what we were
Mm-hmm.
living up to. So,
I just remember in the beginning it was all very, very sci-fi of like even Alien starts that way too. All black space message of the vessel, what they're doing, whatnot. And then and then you just see the nightmare that Sam Neill's having. And I like that I know it's a foreshadowing. It's very interesting that you just go right into the nightmare and he just
mhm.
wakes up like nothing. Like, I have a feeling that's gonna come back soon.
I was a late bloomer to Event Horizon. I
Mhm.
think I saw this movie for the first time when I was probably staying with you, maybe like 10 years ago. Maybe you had mentioned it to me. I had known about the
Yeah.
movie, and it was always one of those movies that I was like, "Ooh, I'd like to watch that one day." It looks weird and it looks,
Mhm.
crazy 90s fun. And it was an
Totally.
interesting movie. I didn't remember much about it, so I this might have been like my second time actually watching this movie.
Wow.
But over the course of like the last 10 years or so, I've definitely seen a lot of those like YouTube videos of
Mhm.
people talking about it, breaking it down, going into it.
Okay.
Because this movie, I actually really, really enjoyed this movie too. This was actually,
Yeah.
I think the visuals of this movie are really cool. Paul W.S. Anderson is such a polarizing director. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he did the Resident Evil movies. He did Alien versus
Yeah.
Predator.
Uh,
He does a lot of, fan film-ish kind of
mhm.
stuff. He does a lot of things like that, and he's not very well received, but for some reason, like a lot of his early work, I actually really, really enjoy because he always has interesting visuals. Like
He
Mortal
does.
Kombat, he has like interesting visuals, Resident Evil, and even Event Horizon. And I love the visuals in this movie. I think it looks amazing. Well, I'll specify. I love the like sets and the
Oh
practical
yeah.
stuff. The CGI kind of stuff
Yeah, the
doesn't look
CGI
so
is a
good.
little bit eh.
It it,
Well,
it
it
looked
was
pretty
funny though
rough.
that I was watching it in Prime on Prime, right? And then I couldn't believe how clear it was.
Yeah, it
Um,
was a good transfer. Yeah.
Like compared to the when I first saw it, it wasn't as clear as what's on right now streaming.
Hmm.
And you could see like when they first board Event Horizon and everything's still floating, right?
Yeah.
So like bottles of water and whatnot, like
Hmm.
I you can tell it's CG.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That stuff, yeah. But then there's
yeah.
like other parts that, it's like the actual set that they're on. I'm like, man,
Hmm.
this looks really good. Like the one room where the actual device is, I can't remember what they called it, the
The
engine
gateway.
something, the gateway, yeah. That
Hmm.
looked really cool, had a really unique
Yeah.
design. And I was watching like behind the scenes, I guess, there's a lot of like religious inspiration. I guess the Notre Dame Cathedral was like an inspiration for the
Okay.
ship itself, which was interesting. I love that hallway in between the two parts of the ship. I thought that was like really cool.
It's very
Yeah, the gate.
unique. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
it is unique, and I really like that actually. I think that holds up after almost 25, almost 30 years of
Yeah.
when this movie came out. Sam Neill shaven, and he just had his little dream sequence, and
Hmm.
looks at the bathtub, which is also foreshadowing.
Yep.
I love Sam Neill's great, and when I think I first watched this movie, I was like, "Oh, Sam Neill, hell yeah, man, fucking Alan Grant, let's go,"
Complete
only to
opposite.
oh, only for him to essentially become the antagonist because this movie doesn't have a true antagonist. There is no like actual like
Not
physical villain
really.
until he becomes that.
Right.
Which I was like, damn man, he had to make Alan Grant make Sam Neill the bad guy.
Oh, he played it
But
so well.
he's good. But you can tell my biggest criticism of this movie has to be the editing and the pacing. You can tell this movie was chopped the hell up
Yeah.
because it actually, I don't know if you read the backstory. This originally was a 130-minute cut that got cut down to whatever it was, 97 minutes. So there's like like a full on, like you can tell certain backstories were never established. Like Jason Isaacs,
From
for example,
right.
he actually has a really cool backstory where you see his death scene. He rips his shirt open and
And
he
you
has a
have it.
scar, right?
Yep. It's
And
heart
apparently
surgery.
there was a whole backstory that he had this when he was a kid, and he had this fear ever since he was a child of being dissected alive.
And
And
there it
ones
is.
ended up happening. Yeah.
Well, that's
So,
another thing that I
uh,
like about the movie, that it plays on each other's like fears and
right.
past haunts and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it only goes into like half of the characters for that. And it
Well,
is kind of jumbled too. Like it again, like the pacing and the editing, you can just tell. Like that was going back to my original point with Sam Neill real quick. He kind of becomes the crazy villain, like kind of right away, well, not right away, but like it kind of just like happens, and then you're like, oh, okay. Like there could have been more of a build up with him. He just went from like lovable Sam Neill to all of a sudden he's just like acting weird, and now he's trying to kill crew members, and it
well,
just
I
seemed like
mean,
that happened really fast.
when you say that, like I see it more because it's his like baby pretty much. It's his ship. He designed it. So he wants to be on there before he goes, you know, crazy and killing everyone. Like he wants to protect the ship before he even knows what's actually going on with the ship. So that's why I think his transitioning from like lovable, innocent to like I'm not going anywhere. This is my legacy to okay, you can't leave this ship.
It just seemed that just felt very abrupt to me, and it's not just just the editing in general. Like you can feel where that 30-ish minutes that's not there. You can I don't know I just you could feel that watching this movie. Like it is kind of jumpy with a lot of the editing. We have some pretty good characters though in this movie. I don't know. I like the cast in this movie.
I
My
did
favorite is
too.
actually Schmitty. The I don't know if he's considered the pilot. What his actual role is.
I think so. Or navigate. He lists them off in the very beginning, but I can't remember. I
He
know
was actually my
Jason Isaacs is
favorite,
like
which
this. What
Jason Isaac was the
medical?
almost like the EMT kind of guy.
Right.
And then Richard T. Jones, the guy that survives at the end, he was they had like an actual name for him. It was some sort of like
I
rescue
don't.
something like that. Like he was specifically like a
Yes.
rescue guy.
Yeah, because like the younger one was engineering,
Yeah, Jack
and
Noseworthy, that is the engineer.
the mama bear, she was. I guess she was medical.
She might have also, yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
So
she might have been medical
Um,
too.
I like Schmitty. I don't know. I just really liked how he was very passionate about not wanting to get on this ship. That was
He was the
another
only
story
smart
element
one.
that he was, and sadly his death scene was I actually like that setup where he looks at the bomb and just counting down from 5 and he just knows he's done. He just has that look. He's just like
Yeah.
But yeah, Schmitty was my favorite, which is actually funny because when I was watching this, I was like, oh, that's Jason Isaacs. But then I'm like, wait a minute, that's not Jason Isaacs. That's Jason Isaacs. I'm like, because they kind of look like each other, those two actors. Yeah, they
What?
do.
No,
Yeah,
they do not.
they do. The
No.
only reason I knew it was Jason Isaacs is because he had darker hair. I'm like, okay, that's Jason Isaacs. But I was like, they kind of looked like each other. I don't know, just two British guys, I guess.
What? I don't see them both together. No, 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 no.
Oh,
Smitty.
I'm not talking about separate. I'm talking about just the two guys in a movie. Like in
Oh,
the same scene, I saw them and
what?
I thought originally he was Jason Isaacs, but then Jason Isaacs showed up and I was like, oh, okay. So they kind of look like each other in
Are
the
you
movie.
kidding me? No, but
So
I like Schmitty. He was I don't he was the smart one to not want to set foot on there. He had that
yeah,
like instinct, like I am not going on there.
yeah, that's actually a story element that I actually really enjoyed about this was that they had their small little ship, their Lewis and Clark,
Hmm.
and they're like, we have this is our safe place. I don't, and he's like, I don't want to go on there, but then something happens, and then of course they have to go on there.
Right.
Well, then of course the ship blows up, but I kind of like that story element that works for me. But so now they're finally arriving, and some weird stuff's about to happen.
Oh yeah.
So what is
The
your interpretation of what this darkness is?
I think that it was an entity that ends up fusing with the ship, like like Lawrence Fishburne says, like the ship is alive. I
Yeah,
think
because it
what
actually
that
does that
is.
with the people too. It kind of takes the people over as well. So it almost
Right.
becomes a host for any kind of organism, really. And I guess the ship itself is its own organism.
Right. And that's what I think. So like something came through, took over the ship and and played on all the crew's fears and worst scenarios they have in their own heads and just kills them one by one. It is really interesting to see the different scenarios. Like Lawrence Fishburne with he left the man behind, his worst scenario in his head that he's ever had.
Hmm.
And the practical effects without fire was awesome. And
Yeah.
with you don't exactly see what the young one, the engineering guy, you
Hmm.
don't see what his is.
Hmm.
You see like snippets here and there when Sam Neill's like showing Lawrence Fishburne like this is what hell really is like. It's so much worse.
Oh, you mean the Hellraiser ripoff?
We have such sights to show you.
Yeah, I love
Well,
him.
apparently the writer actually said Hellraiser was an inspiration for this movie.
You
So,
can tell with the gore and the
hmm
torture scenes that you see just snippets of. Like,
That's where I would love to have seen an extended cut from, is the torture scenes,
oh,
because damn man, that's where the visuals really
that's what the
really and
hell
going to the
was.
practical stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really so. Apparently I was reading some backstory, and there's plenty of videos that cover this, but I don't know if you know this. So there was an extended cut, the one that they showed to like test screenings, right? It was 130 minutes. And then the
Okay.
studio's like, no, 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 this is way too crazy. This is way too much. Cut it down 30 minutes. So he cuts it down to what we watch.
Hmm.
So apparently, from what I was reading and hearing, they kept this 130-minute, I guess director's cut in like a storage unit or like a salt mine in like Romania or something like that.
What?
So and then it got destroyed. So
Ah,
sadly there'll never be an extended cut of this movie.
damn.
However, I was reading on IMDb that apparently somebody had like a VHS of the extended cut at some point, but then that person said, no, that's not true, or maybe there is one out there or something
Hmm.
like that. So maybe in the universe there's somebody has a VHS somewhere of 130-minute Event Horizon, which, man, I'd love to see that movie.
I would watch it. I would watch
Yeah,
it.
because apparently all the extended stuff. I mean, there's like a lot of more backstory stuff.
Right, for the
You get to
character.
know more
Yeah.
about Jason Isaacs' character, Jack Noseworthy's character, but also you get to see the extended blood orgy, which apparently from what I was reading was like, holy crap! Like there is some graphic descriptions of what's going on in these scenes, and you only see it for like split seconds,
Oh
but
yeah.
just especially with the other crew, when you see the stuff going on with the
With the
other
original crew
crew,
of, yeah.
there's like sodomy and just
It
like
it
fucking
it
crazy
goes
stuff.
wild. I
But
know.
apparently, this original print,
Has it all.
it's in like some European salt mine
Yeah,
that it
that's
got
just
destroyed, and
weird.
that's the story, at least. That's from what I heard and from what I read. So
Okay.
that's gone, but maybe somewhere out there, some person has a VHS copy of this
That would be cool.
extended cut,
That'd be
and
cool to see.
that'd be something fun to watch.
Yeah.
What do you think of the death tunnel, which is the scene that I got on right now, where they walk through essentially what I would call a haunted house attraction?
What, the one that's spinning?
The grinder, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought that too originally. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what that is. The fun house. Just going see if you wobble or not.
They give a scientific explanation. It has something to do with magnetic fields, but I'm just like,
Yeah,
all right, you just wanted to put something trippy in this movie. Like, come on, I get it.
pretty much. But no, going back for what you said, the set dressing for that movie is awesome. Like,
It's definitely very alien inspired for certain parts.
yes,
Like you see, kind of like
everything's
where their sleeping
dark.
areas and they're like little sleeping stations. That very much looks like the Nostromo on
Yeah.
Alien. There's actually one shot at the end of the movie that straight up was like straight from like Aliens,
Oh,
which
when they
is
come back out from stasis.
no, well, yeah, but the doors open and the guys walk in with the flashlights. Like if
Oh,
you watch the
yeah.
opening of Aliens,
Yep.
the
Yep.
second one, that's like straight up like looks just like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of alien in this movie. There's a lot. I mean, it's the greatest sci-fi movie ever made, or I would, greatest sci-fi horror movie ever made.
And I
Um,
just finished watching Alien.
there you go. So
Mhm.
you should have seen a lot of
Oh yeah, I
inspiration
saw a lot of
from that in here.
inspiration. That's probably why I like looking at it so much. 'Cause it really does remind you of Alien, but it just looks so good. I like everything that's like sci-fi horror that's, I mean, they all look the same in a way, like Pandorum. Remember that movie? Same
Yeah.
thing. It's all dark, it's all dark architecture and very spacey, alien-like. But I like that. It
Oh, how about the
works.
scene Sam Neill's going through the little like vent system, but it's all like little green.
You know what that reminded
Uh,
me of?
the Matrix.
Actually, I was gonna say 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
Yeah,
too.
that's the first thing that pops in my mind. Like, oh, it's Hal.
Yeah, but even like that set, like that just looks like, I'm looking at it right now, and it just looks so cool. He's like walking
Oh
through
yeah,
and it's got all the, you can tell
the
it's like
maze of
computer
circuits.
boards, but it's like green, and
Yeah,
yeah, it looks really cool. And
I
if they
really
made
like
this
that.
nowadays, this would just be like a green screen set where
Yeah,
it's just like all
they won't do
digital,
anything practical. But I
right?
really like the way that looked, and the scenes where he keeps seeing his wife.
Mm-hmm. Little
Or
cheesy to me, honestly. That stuff was kind of cheesy, especially in the beginning. I don't know. That just like felt so 90s where he like wakes up. He's got like a I couldn't help but laugh. He's got a mural of his wife's pictures. And if you actually look carefully, there's two of the same pictures in there.
I didn't
It's like a
pay
black and
attention
white
to
photo.
that.
There's like two of them, and he just like looks and he touches it and he goes, "Ah, I miss you."
It's
I'm
his
just like,
shrine to her.
that's
It's his
that's a
shrine.
little much,
It
man.
was a little too
That's
much. I agree.
a little too much.
But
It should have been a shrine of the Event Horizon, like just all pictures of the ship. Oh, I missed you. Oh, we'll meet again. I guess
I
I
like
was
his
watching one thing.
yeah.
So Sam Neill, because it kind of wasn't making much sense to me. Like he's already having dreams. That's kind of also goes back to how this movie's kind of choppy, especially in the beginning, because he wakes up, but then he's already on the other ship with this crew, and it just kind of like you could tell like something happened really fast or something got cut out. Because all of a sudden he goes from waking up in this one ship and now he's on the other ship, and I was a little confused. I was like, wait a minute, is this the same? But it is different. But he he wakes up, he already's having dreams, but he's not even on the
The
Event
Event
Horizon
Horizon.
yet. So it's like, why is he already having dreams? And then
That
one person pointed out he may have already been on the Event Horizon once before somehow. So he might have
but
actually been through this before. That's
but
why he's having these
that
nightmares.
but I don't think that that doesn't make sense either.
It doesn't make
Like
sense, but that was
the
like a
last
theory.
time
Is like,
the last time he would have been on the ship was before it got launched. So it really, yeah, it doesn't make sense for that theory that why he's having dreams. It just really is out of nowhere that he's having the
it is, yeah.
dreams.
Yeah, that was the one thing that was confusing me. I was like, how is he already? I mean, unless they're just, natural dreams of you losing your wife, but I don't know. It's just like it was weird that he was already having these before he was even at the Event Horizon.
Yeah, this unless it was like a premonition dream because he saw himself.
Right, but again, it doesn't make sense. Just
It
why is he
doesn't,
having
no.
these? Yeah,
No.
that was like one of the parts that I was getting kind of confused in the beginning.
But I love the makeup on Sam Neill, how it progressed from like clawed eyes to when the ship brings him back and he's all scarred up.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, he's got an intense look, man. I mean, this movie
yeah, to me
it
as a
definitely
kid, that creeped
goes.
the hell out of me.
Oh, I bet for
You know,
sure.
but I
Anything with no eyes
love.
always creeped me out too. Like anytime there was like a character that just had no eyes, like remember that scene in The Mummy where the one guy like he had no
Oh,
eyes, he gets
yeah.
his eyes sucked out. Like that always scared me as a kid too. So just like stuff like that always freaked me out. There's like a
See,
scene in Freddy versus Jason where the little girl has no eyes. Like that, yeah, that stuff was always creepy.
well, I know when his wife didn't have eyes, it didn't bother me as much. Probably because it wasn't like the bloody eyes or anything like that. It's just like, okay, there's just two holes in there, but and I can see it's CG. So like,
Sam
when
Neill felt more practical. Like his looked
his is
more
definitely
practical.
it's all practical. It's just the scarring at the end. It's a creepy face, but I like him when he plays bad guys because he does it so well.
You got to watch In the Mouth of Madness. That's still my favorite John Carpenter movie. Sam Neill is the lead in that, and it's a pretty weird movie too. It's
Is he?
actually very inspired by like Stephen King, but
Ah,
also H.P. Lovecraft. That's a
okay.
future episode right there. Yeah,
All
that was
right.
actually the year after Jurassic Park came out, so a few years before this movie. But yeah, In the Mouth of
Nice.
Madness. Now that's a fun one.
I think I only remember one other movie where he plays the bad guy, and that was Daybreakers.
Okay, it's like a
Yeah,
vampire movie, isn't it?
yeah, it's actually a pretty
Okay.
good vampire movie.
Yeah. Okay. Uh so anyways, after the airlock scene, this movie starts to really like it becomes a time crunch. They have to they're
Right, to
trying to get out of there
save.
in a certain amount of time, and the movie actually starts to move along pretty well too. Like when I was watching it, I was like, oh damn, we only got like half an hour left. And yeah, the movie actually starts to really, really move. And it kind of
Well,
becomes like
well, it makes sense
I gotta
too.
criticize Jason Isaac's death scene because that felt pretty cheap as well, where he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll take care of him." And he turns around and he's just like there and he just like picks him up and kills him. I was like, all right, that was kind of cheap, but whatever.
There was another scene that was like when he's trying to calm Smitty down by putting a scalpel to his neck. They're like, why?
Yeah, that was a bit much.
Like it really that did not make sense to me. Like, why are you threatening
Because he
your own
said
crewmate?
because you look too much like me.
Oh my god.
What about Cooper? I mean, Cooper was kind of a silly
He
character.
was the comic relief.
Yeah.
And
His little like getting back to the ship was kind of goofy, but also kind of fun at the same
yeah,
time.
yeah. Like there had to be some comic relief. There's always one. You know. And yeah, you barely see him in the movie, which is fine too. You know, he survives with the main character. Okay, what about the ending? Okay, let's talk about the ending.
When I was watching it, I was like, I remember there's like a kind of like a jump scare ending. Oh, I hope it doesn't end on this stupid jump scare. And it kind of does, and it kind of doesn't. She has
It's
another
like,
dream where she
yeah,
thinks she's getting saved, but then it's Sam Neill with his Hellraiser makeup
Scarface.
on. And then she
If you
wakes
think
up
about
and
it though, it's
well,
almost like a book ending because Dr. Weir has the same dream when he's in stasis.
mhm,
Then he wakes up again and he's okay. It's the same thing.
right. But then you see the door close by itself, which means, oh, it's not over.
I mean, they technically are still on the event horizon.
Yeah, and they establish early on that when that same character is doing the readings, that it's everywhere in the ship. So yeah,
Everywhere, yep. So
yeah,
it doesn't have to be the gateway at the theory of the entity is still with them.
right.
So
Yeah.
I like that. I like that ending that it's okay, maybe you're still not alone.
Paul W.S. Anderson, he likes his he's bleak sci-fi 70s endings. If you remember the ending to the first Resident Evil, she basically goes outside and it's like an apocalypse. And he always used to refer back to those like Logan's Run 1970
Oh,
kind of like bleak sad endings. And I think Event Horizon definitely fits in that ballpark of
yeah.
because it kind of ended and I was like, oh, that was kind of a I don't know, lame ending. But then you do think about it and you're like, okay, got it. It actually
Hmm.
there's more to it
Hmm.
than maybe
You,
what you
s-
initially
you
saw.
spin your
So
own theories. It's just like the ending of Blade Runner. Like there's so many different endings that you don't know which one would be it. But I
yeah,
like those endings that you really don't know if it's over or not. I do like them.
right. Yeah, I mean overall, I just was a fun this was a fun pick. I really enjoyed watching this. I was really into it. Event Horizon definitely fits the bill of just like that classic 90s look sci-fi
Oh yeah,
movie. You know, some things visually don't hold up, mostly like CGI parts, but then other things hold up great that you can't even find nowadays,
yeah,
especially going back to the practicals and the makeup.
yeah,
And it's just like I also just love that like those scenes where they're just walking around the ship in the beginning and there's really not a lot of scary stuff going on, but it's just quiet. Like I love that kind of stuff where they're just exploring.
yeah.
And the movie kind of takes its time with that a little bit before it
A
really
little
has to
bit, yeah.
start, picking up. Like that stuff I love, just like quiet little moments where they're walking around and they're just like looking in every room. Like that stuff is really great. So yeah, man, Event Horizon was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one. If anybody watching has any insights on that 130-minute VHS, if
Let
anyone
us
one of our
know.
yeah, if anyone any of our friends in Romania that work in some salt mines maybe have the inside scoop on if this is a true story or not, let us know because
We
I
would
would love to
love to
watch that
watch that
130-minute version. Yeah, I would. I just want to see those extended scenes of the
horror.
freaking yeah the blood orgy stuff. So
Yeah.
good pick, Chris. Good pick.
That's all we have for today on our pick of Event Horizon. Gut print moving on.
All right, now we can leave. I'll see you later.
She won't let you leave.